Hello. Welcome to Merm and Jess's little corner. Today, we plan on discussing stress in school, its effects, and methods to help. And here I have Jesse accompanying me on this discussion.
Hello! Stress and mental health is especially a crucial topic in Cupertino High School, a school that was slowly formed by the intense and hardworking culture of Cupertino, and definitely must be open to discussion among peers and school staff.
Of course, students are expected to work extremely hard and accomplish so much in very little time. Just like this project, which we're kind of doing like at the last minute, but including us, despite being seniors. Even we're still affected by underlying pressure and societal pressure from students and parents. Most students tend to joke about having too many tests and assignments, but in all reality, I believe it's honestly a cry for help.
Yeah, while I believe there is clearly a work overload, oddly enough, I would say most of the pressure comes from students themselves and the parents. I believe teachers at CHS are pretty lenient in regards to test dates due to constant collaboration. As a whole, I think students and teachers... I think students and teachers pressure... That is supposed to be parents. I think students and parents pressure other students for any choices that they don't see fit, and force everyone to think that they have to aim high, which in the end results in extreme amounts of stress.
Yeah, definitely. And under extreme amounts of stress, there are so many long-term health problems that students and families just aren't aware of or just becoming aware of, such as college students across the country that are unfortunately dying from these cardiac arrests due to overloads of pressure. And while the chance of death rises just from being stressed, it also causes more common mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety, which will only amplify someone's stress, especially in this environment like CHS.
This is honestly clearly more of a cultural issue with bits of unhealthy academic environments. So should our schools change that to alleviate any stress off our students and families? Well, under tons of pressure, Cupertino students performed exceptionally. However, this comes because they have very little time with friends and family due to that work overload. While I think teachers can be very accommodating towards test dates like I stated before, I think less homework time or no homework at all could help improve the CHF lifestyle.
I totally agree with that. I saw that proposed a couple of times during our new high school presentations, and if you're not in CHS government, it's basically we make our own high schools. Okay, it's pretty interesting. All right, I totally suggest that you bring it up to your government teachers. It's a fun project to do. And it was especially intriguing to discover that Finland already establishes that policy. It also happens to be one of the best countries in the world for education.
Ooh, Finland.
I think that maybe the U.S. and Cupertino could take a few notes to help the students with their health and wellness.
I was skeptical at that policy at first during the presentations, but after a little bit of research about Finland's education system, most Finnish children and teens actually generally tend to be happier because they have time to experience life and be themselves with their families, and these students at CHS almost feel like they're in a constant trap or bubble, and this is honestly the work overload doesn't really help that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I doubt the U.S. would ever really incorporate that policy, especially with I'm adding something in here. With when you look at it, we're taught this system of you sit down, you listen to the teacher, and you don't do what the teacher says not to do. That's just, it's drilled into your head that the teacher is the right of the authority, and you listen to the teacher no matter what. As soon as you're a little kid, and even when you're in this second grade, you're coming home with homework to do. In Finland, little kids are allowed to play. They don't have homework until they enter middle school for us, basically, which I feel is what kind of helps their students not stay stressful. However, as a CHS student, I do think that we should be able to deal with the stress head on that's implemented in our society in any way that we possibly can. I personally just take naps to deal with my stress.
Honestly, going back on that, with Finland's like high education system, you could argue that Japan is like they're one of the leading countries in terms of academics.
Woo, go Japan!
But also, despite like Japan and Korea being like really high successful or producing really high and successful students, they're also one of the countries that happens to have the highest suicide rates because of that, because they don't allow their students the free time, just like CHS. And the reason why CHS and those countries are very similar is due to cultural aspects, because, you know, Cupertino is majority Asian. And for me, I usually deal with stress, like I usually take mental health breaks, or I just eat a snack. I like to be aware that I know I'm trying my best, and like I know I'll be okay. Even sometimes I like doing breathing exercises. And yes, these all seem very typical or cliche methods, but honestly, it's the smaller things that help.
Yeah, and I know, like, kind of going back to, like, the Japan thing and everything like that, I know that people have gotten to their breaking points of, like, doing things that have happened to, like, Japanese and Korean students of, like, committing suicide or doing something that's harmful to yourself. And, like, I know that personally I've cried before because of all the stress that's given at CHS. But let me tell you something. Like, I have heard this from almost every college student I know, in that it's asking your teacher for an extension is totally okay. Like, the teachers are going to be understanding and accepting, like, especially CHS teachers, I believe, because of that they know, like, the pressure that they are putting on us.
Where am I at? Anyways, I meant, like, going off on that with the whole, like, Asian culture, especially, like, what Merm said and what I was saying before. Cupertino is predominantly Asian, so this clearly affects, like, not only, like, the like students in those countries, but also it affects the students here. And, like, although those things help me, what I said...
Excuse me.
Students are overall more pressured by their parents and families to succeed because although Cupertino is predominantly Asian, in general, Cupertino is a mixed culture of, what's the word? What is that word?
Ethnicities?
Ethnicities,
Nationalities?
Foreigners? Immigrants. Yes. Cupertino is predominantly immigrant-based, so a lot of their families, like, it's more of a cultural thing for everyone's families to, like, push their students to succeed. So our methods of stress is completely different due to culture, most likely. And however, and despite of this, we do still both hope that despite race and culture, everyone still notices the effects of stress and how to combat it.
Also, as a little, like, extra tidbit here, I will admit Japan's education system is better because of the fact that, hey, here we see trash and litter everywhere on our campus. Japan, the students are their own custodians. They clean up after themselves. So as a note to everyone, clean up your garbage, please. Thank you.
I think that's more of, like, a societal thing, which is good, because US, you better get on that.